Hi again, I'm Tony Chargan, and I'm going to give you an introduction to the St. Francis Yacht Club Markset Boat Manual. The manual is organized in two parts. There's the body and the appendix. In the body is the usual introduction, crew roles, which is what I want to talk about a little bit more later on, boat assignments on the race course, the gear used, preparing the boats on and off the water, operating the boats, and mark handling. In the appendix, we find details on safety, radio operations, bowline knot, and I'm emphasizing that one. That's something that is a basic tool and skill that everyone needs to have. Anchor lines, details, mark ties, course layouts, compass use, as well as acronyms, which we are freely using all the time. I'll discuss just a few examples from the manual. So for the crew roles, boat captain, driver, operator, whatever, the captain is in charge of the boat operations. Responsibilities include signing off on a checklist that's found in the orange box. Each boat has an orange box that's with its name on it. The orange box contains gear of all kinds. The captain is to check the Markset and gear inventory. He or she does the docking and undocking, drives the boat in a safe and efficient manner, conducts radio checks and communicates via radio, communicates clearly to direct the crew and assist as necessary, communicate with and complete tasks requested by the PRO, refuel the boat, keep constant lookout over race course and surrounding waters for potential problems, ready to respond. And very importantly, conduct hands-on training for less experienced crew in Markset operation. In every case, put safety first. The second person hopefully is an experienced crew member. This person basically does similar things what the captain does, except under the direction of the captain, which means selecting and moving Markset gear on and off the boat, ensure adequate gear is on board for required tasks, store and rig lines and marks, including deflating and inflating, make wind readings, interpret current and weather, deploy, move, and pick up marks as requested, assist in docking and undocking, drives the boat as may be requested by the captain, and then keep constant lookout over the race course and surrounding waters for potential problems. And again, importantly, conduct hands-on training for the less experienced crew. This may be easier to do for this crew member to do the training than it is for the captain, since captain is mostly driving. And in every case, put safety first. The third crew member is usually a new member or infrequent volunteer. This person's duties may include willingness to learn, that's the most important part, and be supportive of the mission. Assist both the captain and the experienced crew member as directed. Assist in moving the gear on and off the boat. Assist in docking and undocking. Assist in deploying, moving, and retrieving Markset gear. Keep constant lookout over the race course and surrounding waters for potential problems. And importantly, ask questions to better understand what's going on. We don't just want to be robots. We want to understand what's going on. And then learn to tie the bowline knot, if not already knowledgeable. And as in every case, put safety first. In chapter 4, we show typical boat assignments by position and responsibility. So there would be windward mark and offset location. There would be leeward gate. There would be starting line buoy at the pin end, starting line rib at the pin end, downwind finish line, reach mark, upwind finish line, and rover, which may be used for safety purposes in dinghy regattas. Here's the complex course that I've shown before. I'll just go into it a little bit. We may have several boats in each of the fast classes, let's say, that go around Mark 1, but not enough to put in the offset. If there's like 15 of them in any class, we would put an offset in here too. But at this point, it's the single windward mark for the fast boats. This is the leeward mark for the fast boats. So they go around this loop. Mark 2 is the inside windward mark. There's typically more of those boats around, so we would expect to put in an offset, and this would be the leeward mark for the slower boats. So everybody starts here. Some of them go to here, go around the long course, and the slower boats start here and go around this windward mark. So they would loop this way, the fast boats loop that way. Sometimes we can mix to get the right spacing between the boats. And we get the fast boats to go around here if it's the last race of the day. And then we have, for the finish leg, we'd go from here to there. And so we could take the finishes independently of the starts, which let us run race after race after race. Start line with a buoy at the pin end. That's pretty detailed in the manual. I'll just briefly mention it's kind of obvious. You decide on the length and bearing to the wind with a principal race officer. The rib goes to that location, so at the distance measured by the rangefinder, and then go upwind or up current, whichever way it goes, drop the anchor and let it go down to the expected location. Upwind finish line is another useful position for the rib. We proceed to the location designated by the SIs, take and report wind and current readings to the PRO, anchor the finish line pin buoy first, and then anchor the finish line boat opposite the pin buoy at about 4 to 6 lengths of the longest boat racing. Racers cross the finish line from the direction of the previous mark, generally leaving the pin to port. The bearing to the buoy should be 90 degrees to the wind. And since it's a finish line, the boat needs to fly a blue flag. And the sail numbers need to be recorded as boats are finishing. Don't bother trying to separate it by fleet. The computer will do that when we start doing the scores. It's when the boats are finished mixed in fleets, 505s and lasers. You don't need to keep separate sheets. You can just keep boat numbers one after another. In large fleets, there are a lot of boats. You use the voice recorder. It's a good backup for the written record. And even in one design racing, when times are not required to calculate the finishes, recorded times, at least for the first and last finisher, and anything in between. That timing is used to decide on the course length, whether the marks need to be changed to achieve the desired length of time for each race. There is a gear that's assigned at the pre-race race committee meeting in terms of marks, anchors, anchor lines, length, anchor, whether the boat needs digital board or whiteboard with markers, which are sometimes used for specific issues that happen on the course, and course change board as well. which I won't go into detail here. The rib orange box contains a whole bunch of goodies. Pad with papers and pencils, pre-formatted sheets, clipboard, handheld compass, air horn, wind speed, wind stick, knife, radios, binoculars, and the tide table. Then we talked about the mark a lot. So this is the anatomy of a mark. There's the floating part, the inflated cone or a ball. In order to keep it upright, we attach something we call a dead man. I have no idea what it's called like that. There's a clip here that ties to the bottom of the mark. There's another clip that goes around the anchor line, which is tied with a bowline to the mark itself. That's why I keep saying bowline is the most important tool you need in your skill set. It's clipped down here to keep the anchor line in deeper than the surface of the water, so the center boarders and keel boarders can go past the anchor line without hooking it. And then there's another bowline down here that ties to the anchor line. Then there's a chain, and then the anchor. In this case, it was showing Danforth. There's two basic ways to put the mark in the water. One is drop and go, which is fairly straightforward. You have an anchor tied to the anchor line. You ease it over the side and lower it easily so that the road kind of goes down without getting into the prop. So you need to keep it tight, not loose. So that's most likely used for windmill mark and its offset, and the leeward mark if it's single, and or the first gate mark. For drag and drop, that we call it streaming sometimes, the mark is streamed aft, so it goes overboard first, and then you ease the anchor line, and the boat is moving forward with the anchor remaining on board until released after receiving command from the PRO. This is most often used at the starting line pin and or finish pin and the second leeward gate. And I'll talk about short here in the diagram. So there is the rib, there is the mark. Start driving till the anchor line is stretched out, and then at the appropriate time, the anchor is dropped. So this position is called by, if it's a starting line, called by the PRO. So the PRO will keep an eye on this location, and he or she will know that the mark will go forward after the anchor is dropped. And you can see why it goes forward. The anchor goes mostly straight down. The anchor line needs to go down to the bottom, so the mark will move forward about a third of the distance of the anchor line on typical ratios that we use in terms of depth of water and the anchor line length. Now, pulling the anchor up with the anchor yanker is really one of the fun things to do. Typically, as I mentioned earlier, you hook the split ring around the anchor line, clip a ball to it, which we call anchor yanker, and then start driving. Typically not straight ahead in the direction of the anchor road, somewhere in this angle, 45 degrees. And this is like 20 degrees, which is kind of what most people choose. You need to put a little sideways pull on the anchor to yank it off the bottom. So you start driving. The anchor line goes through the split ring, and the ball, of course, has a water friction, so it has a lot of drag, so it stays behind the boat. and it keeps going further and further behind the boat. And about here, you'll feel or see the anchor ball sink as it pulls the anchor off the bottom, and then it will pop up once the anchor is off the bottom. And you say, okay, now I'm off the bottom, and you keep driving. So the anchor line goes through the ring as you go into a little gentle turn, which gives you the opportunity to basically cut the distance. The anchor will come up all the way to the top with to the surface of the water, I should say. And then as you make the circle, the anchor will be right there. And all you do is pull the anchor line into the boat. And then the only hard part is getting the anchor itself up into the boat. Sometimes you have a 40-pound anchor, you have to have a little bit of strength to do that. But if there's two crew in the boat, that's not so hard. And the last thing about the wind, you can use the wind stick to do the wind reading. That's pretty straightforward. You line the yarn with respect to the wind, you line the compass with that. The yarn wiggles a lot, so this to me is not as accurate as the second technique, which requires a little bit of skill. Close your eyes, move your head left and right, feel the wind on your cheeks or your ears, and you can point your nose directly into the wind and get the compass in front of your nose, and then open your eyes and read, and you'll find the wind direction within a couple of degrees. Each rib has a quiver of flags which are used for different purposes. I'll only highlight one of them here as an example. This is an M flag, which is used if a mark floats away for whatever reason, the anchor breaks loose or something. So usually time is of the essence. You have to proceed to the original location of the missing mark and start working on displaying the M flag while the boat is getting there. So when you're on station, the flag is already displayed, and you start to whistle to alert the sailors that you are the mark. And the whistle designates that, and you have to keep whistling till all the boats are on the mark. And another chore for the ribs is shepherding the fleet to stay clear of commercial shipping. This is typical location of a rib. You have to be able to see the bridge, because that's where the pilot stands on the lookout. And so this distance here needs to be far enough so you can do that. These are a bunch of our boats coming up, and you have, the ships are going at about 30 feet a second. So that's a good sized boat lengths per second, deceivingly fast. So you have to warn the fleet, and we use a V flag, which now has to be changed because the rules are now using V flag for something else. And we point the flag to the competitor to say, okay, you gotta stay away from attack or jibe. Manual is intended as a reference document. So this has been a preview only, that's it. It's posted online on the St. Francis Yacht Club Race Committee. You're encouraged to print it for your use when preparing to participate in St. Francis Yacht Club Race Committee activities. It's really a fun document to go through. Thank you. Bye.